today's objectives is factor perfect square trinomials, and I'm going to introduce all the formulas. To start off, factor the perfect square trinomials. The rules is going to be, there's two forms. A plus b in parentheses square equals a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. And when you have an a minus b, parentheses square is a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. So in this case, you notice the minus sign matches the minus sign and the plus sign matches the plus sign, but it's only middle term. Now, well, the one nice thing about this is then you should be able to recognize if this is squared, which is 3 squared is 9, this is square, 5 squared. I know there's a special formula for this, but I would like you to think about it. This is if you can factor that what we did before, 1 and 9, this is 3 and 3. And this is 1 and 25, 5 and 5. And then you notice if you do 3 and 3, 5 and 5, that gives you 15. And that gives you 15. And therefore, you got 30. It's just the perfect square. Notice the top row and the second row is exactly the same. That's all. And that is going to be 3y plus 5 and 3y plus 5. And that's the same thing as 3y plus 5 squared. Now you can also actually follow the formula. If you follow the formula, I would like to show you, you notice a squared right here. It's the same thing as 3 squared. And then you notice if this is b squared is the 5 squared. And then the middle is just 2 times a, which is 3, b, which is 5. So that's 2 times 3 times 5. And that's where they come from. But in this case, you can just do the quick factoring. If you notice, 9 is 3 times 3, 25 is 5 times 5, and there's your answer. Let's try the next one. The next one, if you just do the problem, is going to be 3 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, 6 and 6. So this is 1 and 49 and 7 and 7. Let's try 6 and 6 and 7 and 7. This is 42 and this is 42. But they both have to be negative. So therefore, it's going to be 6x minus 7, 6x minus 7, and that's going to be 6x minus 7 squared. Okay? You guys try the next one yourself. Here's the answer for example number 3. If you take 16, break it down to 4 and 4, which is exactly square root of 16 is 4 if you want to think about it that way. And y squared is made of 1 times 1. There's exactly the same thing. And if they both are negative 4, when you multiply, it will give you the negative 8 in the middle. And so therefore, to write the answer, just 4x minus y, because we learned from before, if there's a letter in the back, you just add in the letter, and it's just 4x minus y squared. Next one, for example number 4, you are going to have to notice that they have things in common. Actually, that should be one of the steps you always look for. Do they have anything in common? The reason for that is sometimes with things in common, you can still factor, but then you have to do more when you get to the smallest parenthesis, because they will have more things in common. So if you can pull out things they have in common, it makes the combination less. It's easier to work with. The numbers are smaller. So always look for things they have in common. If you look at things in common, I'm going to start saying x in common. So I'm going to pull out x, and that means 4x squared y minus 36xy plus 81y. Then I notice there's a y in common. I'm going to say 4x squared minus 36x plus 81. And so now I have an xy out in the front. I have 4x squared minus 36x plus 81 to factor. So let's take a look if this works with the perfect, because 4, I know it's a square root of 4 is 2, square root of 81 is 9. So because if this is one of the rules, you can do 2 times 9 is 18 times 2 gives you 16. 2 times 9 and 2 times 9 and times 2 of them, that's actually the middle term. It will be the perfect square. We can actually just say xy, and then it's going to be x, break it down, 2 and 2, 9 and 9, both negative. That will be negative 18, That gives you negative 36. So therefore, it's going to be xy times 2x minus 9 and 2x minus 9, or you can write it as xy times 2x minus 9 squared. Either one will be perfect for me. Please do example number 5 and check back with your answer. 3x minus 4, 3x plus 4. Example number 8 is almost the same thing. You notice there's a 25, there's a 64. You know 25 is 5 times 5. You know 64 is 8 times 8. Y is actually a different number. Now notice they both have y. So they have to pull out you have to pull out things in common. So in this case, y to the 7th power can come out because if any letters that they have in common, you pull out the ones that have the smallest exponent. Instead, in this case, it is y to the 7th power. So you have 25 minus 64 y to the 2nd power. Now you have to recognize, because now we are on to the next level, you have to recognize 25 and 64, they both can be square rooted, and so does the y square can be square rooted, and there's a minus sign in the middle. So your answer should be y to the 7th, 2 parentheses, 1 positive, 1 negative, 5 and 5 minus positive 64 is 8y, 8y is your answer for number 8. Y to the 7th times 5 minus 8y times 5 plus 8y is almost the same thing, but if you notice there's an x to the 4th. And x to the 4th, you can definitely say, that means I can have 2 parentheses because I have a minus sign, and then I can actually take the x to the 4th and then put it in 2 piles, and 1 piles, they both have to be the same. So that's going to be x to the 2nd, x to the 2nd. And then I'm going to have a minus sign, so therefore it's a plus or minus. If it's not a minus sign, it's not going to work. It's going to be prime. And then 81 become 9. Notice something. You still have one more factor can be going more. X squared minus sign, you should recognize that's also 1 times 1, and 3 times 3 still gives you the 9. And because of that, we can do still 2 parentheses, x and x, 1 positive 3, 1 negative 3. And the second parenthesis, we cannot do anything about it because there's a plus sign in the middle. Because there's a plus sign in the middle, you cannot factor more. Cannot factor more. So you are going to rewrite the parenthesis x squared plus 9. And that would be your answer. When you have a minus sign in difference of a square, difference means minus. You can make it 1 positive, 1 negative, square root all the terms in the middle. But if you have a plus sign, it cannot. On to the next set of examples. Factor a difference of cubes. Make sure you jot down the formula. The rules factoring a difference of cubes. A to the 3rd power minus b to the 3rd power. Notice instead second here, which is example 6, 7, 8, 9. Now we are talking about cubes instead of squares. It's very important you know the difference. So when you have cubes and there's a huge long formulas that you have to know. So a minus b, parenthesis a squared plus ab plus b squared. That's a really long formula. Even when you get a chance to have the formula, can you really use it? So what I'm going to do is to show you a little shortcut that I would like to show you. The shortcut I'm going to show you is what number times what number times what number give you 64. And if you are not sure how to do that, you can always do 64 using a caret button, 1 divided by 3. And that's called cube root. So 64 has 3 numbers has to be the same. Multiply together, give you 64. And you can use as a button like, okay, eventually we're going to discuss that in chapter 10. You can punch in the calculator and you should equal to 4 3 times. So that's actually 4y, 4y, 4y. And I'm going to write it like that. 64 is really equal to 4y times 4y times 4y. Please do not write down 444y. This is not going to work, okay? It's like you are not stacking all your shirts together. You are stacking your shorts and pants. Shorts and pants. So your 4 is your shirt, your y is your pants. I don't want shirt, shirt, shirt. Means 4, 4, 4. that is not going to work. So you need an outfit, not individual item or individual group. Then the 27 is 3 times 3 times 3. When you think about this, they even tell you you have 2 parentheses. So I'm going to write down 2 parentheses. As a reminder, I need to have 2. One small one, one big one. The way we are going to do it is 4y and 3. Because there is a negative sign in here, I'm going to put down negative. Then the second parenthesis is going to go first term, that's going to give you 16y squared. The middle term, that's going to give you the 12y. And the last term is the 9. And the sign is going to be opposite here and stay always positive. So this is what the same as your problem. So if this is, notice is 64y to the third power, so minus sign. So this is going to stay as minus. The very first parenthesis always stay the same as your problem. The second parenthesis right here always going to be the opposite of what you are given. So if your problem is minus, it's always going to be positive. If your problem is positive, your second sign is going to be negative. And this is always going to be always positive. And if you can follow that rules, you have the difference of Q and sum of Q all figured out. Let's try to do one more problem. Very quick thing. They both have m in common. So I'm going to pull out m. So that's going to be 27m to the third power minus 8n to the third. Now, if you want to write down in alphabets a whole set, that's going to be 3m times 3m times 3m. The second one is going to be 2n times 2n times 2n. No 2, 2, 2, and then n. Remember, second step is put in 2 parentheses. The parenthesis, first parenthesis is just the first term. Stay the same sign, the last term. First 2, middle 2, last 2. And when you multiply, it's always multiply. That's going to give you 9m squared. Since the first sign is negative, this one is going to be the opposite, so it's positive. And that's going to be the middle middle circle is going to be 6mn. And the last one, did you remember, is always positive? That's example number. Oh, and don't forget the m in the front. And that is example number 11. The next one is the same rule. It's going to be factor a sum of cube. Notice they are exactly the same formula. So I'm going to have you guys try example 12 and example 13 and see if you get the same answer. Example 12, you guys can see the answers. 27x to the third power is going to break down is 3 times 3 times 3. So that's your 27x to the third. You can written 3 times. So in the alphabet form, it's going to be 3x, 3x, 3x. And a is just 2 times 2 times 2. Again, using the raised to the 1/3 power. Don't forget first parenthesis, first term, last term, and therefore the sign stayed the same. The second parenthesis is going to be the first circle, second circle, third circle when they multiply. And don't forget the first sign is going to be opposite whatever is giving it to you. And the first sign is going to stay the same. The last sign is always positive. So that's number 12. And then number 13, notice the problem has 5h in common, so I pulled out 5h. Then after that, there's only 1 left because 5h divided by 5h is 1. 1, how do you write 1 multiply itself? Well, 1 times 1 times 1 is still 1. So I can write it 3 times. Then k to the third, that's 2k, 2k, 2k. And so then when you plug in the parenthesis, there's your answer. 5h times parenthesis 1 plus 2k times parenthesis 1 minus 2k plus 4k squared. And that concludes our notes for today. Thank you so much for watching.